The Miami Dolphins are facing a must-win game Sunday against the New York Jets, but quarterback Tua Tagovailoa's status remains very much up in the air because of a hip injury after he missed last Sunday's win over the Browns. Here's more from Dolphins coach Mike McDaniel on Monday.
The optimism last week in my mind based upon the previous experience. So this week, I know one thing. Snoop will get more reps than Tua this week as we go through the week, and I have to be prepared for both guys to play because I don't really know exactly what it's going to look like this next Sunday.
The Steelers are still very much alive in the race for the AFC North. The question now is whether that will still be the case when they kick off Saturday night against the Bengals. Now, the Baltimore Ravens can clinch the division crown with a win over the Browns earlier that afternoon. So that had people asking whether Mike Tomlin would consider resting his starters if the Steelers didn't have anything to play for.
I haven't pondered that at all, to be quite honest with you. That might be a thought for later in the week, but as I mentioned, I think it's significant how we go into this tournament, and so I doubt that I'll be in that mentality that you mentioned.
And the Houston Texans have already clinched the AFC South as they close out the regular season at Tennessee, but Coach DeMeco Ryans doesn't sound like he's much of a fan of resting players in the finale. Take a listen.
Going into this game, as I mentioned to all our guys, that everybody has to be ready to go. And that's where we are. Everybody will be out there playing, and we'll see how the game goes. But for us right now, we got to go play better. And our last outing on the field was not good enough, not representative of who we are defensively, offensively. It's not a good representation of our team entirely. So we got to go out. We got to play better football.
Here's a look at some other notable storylines around the NFL from Monday. The Chiefs have not yet decided if their starters will play in the Week 18 finale. Mecole Hardman may play Week 18. Isaiah Pacheco likely limited. Josh Allen will start Week 18 to keep his starting streak alive. Mike Vrabel can start interviewing for head coaching vacancies around the NFL, and the Jets are scheduled to interview Ron Rivera and Rex Ryan for their open head coaching job. For more on the news around the National Football League, we're now joined by CBS Sports NFL analyst Tyler Sullivan. And Tyler, we are 1 week away from Black Monday, and one coach that will be a top candidate for many of these head coaching vacancies is Mike Vrabel. Which teams do you think that he fits best with?
Yeah, I think let's just look at the teams real quickly that are available right now. Of course, there's going to be teams that we don't know have vacancies. This time next week, we will know they have vacancies. But right now, the Chicago Bears are looked at as the crown jewel in terms of these openings because they do have very attractive pieces, including quarterback Caleb Williams. And so if you're Mike Vrabel, you might be looking at that saying, hey, listen, I know Matt Eberflus wasn't able to get the job done, but what was the big issue with Matt Eberflus? What was the thing that proved to be his demise? We go back to that Thanksgiving Day game, mismanaging the timeouts, mismanaging the clock. You go back to Mike Vrabel's time in Tennessee, he was able to manufacture those wins in those types of situations with subpar talent across his roster. So I think that he would almost fit the bill perfectly in terms of what he could help fix with the Chicago Bears. Now, I know he's not the Ben Johnson types that people want because he's not from the offensive side of the ball, defensive-minded head coach, but he could come with him. A very intriguing cast. One name that's been linked to him in terms of an OC is Josh McDaniels. As a head coach, a little less than be desired, Josh McDaniels. As an offensive coordinator, can attest personally, covering him up here in New England could be fantastic for Caleb Williams. And then speaking of the Patriots quickly and the Jaguars, those are two situations that we'll have to monitor. I don't know if the Patriots will be an opening, but the Jaguars certainly seem like they might be. Those two situations specifically with Vrabel will be interesting as well.
All right, well, one team not on your list for Vrabel, the New York Jets. Gang Green planning to interview former Commanders head coach Ron Rivera this week, and now there's also a chance they could actually be running it back with ex-head coach Rex Ryan. He's also expected to interview for the opening. So, Tyler, is this too much too soon, especially without a new GM in place?
Yeah, just when you thought 2024 could get any weirder, you have Rex Ryan possibly going back to the New York Jets. It's again not on my bingo card, but you never know in these days in the NFL. And you're looking at what the New York Jets are doing right now. They're doing their due diligence, right? And I think that that's the right approach. Don't leave any stone uncovered. See what's out there, whether it's a reunion with Rex Ryan, Ron Rivera, or any of these coaches that are currently available. My question would be, I think they have to ask themselves a very big picture question as to where they're going to go over the next 3 to 5 years. And specifically, what does that mean for Aaron Rodgers? Because I can guarantee you one of the first questions, if not the first question, that Rex Ryan, Ron Rivera, any of these coaches that sit down with the New York Jets, they will ask, okay, what's the situation at quarterback? What are we doing with Aaron Rodgers? What's the plan after Aaron Rodgers? Whether that's this offseason or next offseason. If the new GM is coming in, he's certainly going to be asking those same questions. Are we married to this quarterback for 2025, or are we looking at different options? And so if you are looking at, let's just use these two examples, Ron Rivera and Rex Ryan, those are head coaches in their early 60s. Is that something that is attractive to the New York Jets because they've been experienced, they've been around? It's kind of the opposite of Robert Saleh, who was a first-time head coach when he was first hired. So there's a lot of questions here as to what the overall approach is going to be. And again, it all goes back to what are they going to do with Aaron Rodgers.
Right, and before they make that decision, they might want to just go get a gosh dang snack, right? But the new Jets head coach, whoever it will be, will inherit a pretty good draft spot. Taking a look at the current top 10 draft picks entering Week 18. Pats moving up to the top spot. Titans and Browns also moving up. Giants down to 4 after a surprise win over the Colts, knocking Indianapolis out of the playoffs. Now, who will they be picking, though? According to Ryan Wilson's latest mock draft, Travis Hunter going to New England at 1. Offensive lineman Kelvin Banks Jr. going to the Titans at 2. Quarterback Cam Ward landing in Cleveland at 3. Giants still getting their quarterback with Shedeur Sanders at 4. And defensive lineman Mason Graham rounding out the top 5 with Jacksonville. So, Tyler, a lot of power at that top draft position for New England. And as somebody who's covered this team for many years, what do you expect Kraft and company to do if they land the #1 overall pick?
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting, obviously coming from a week from now to see what this organization is going to look like when they're actually making that selection. If it is #1 overall, will it be Elliott Wolf pulling the strings, or is there going to be some sort of changes to the front office? Because you go back to last draft, I know everybody looks back at Drake May. Beyond that, it was not great. Jalen Polk hasn't turned out to be the wide receiver they all hoped, and it was on full display last week when Ladd McConkey in Gillette Stadium, the player that they traded out of a draft selection with the Chargers for, went off for 2 touchdowns. So there's going to be a lot of questions as to who's actually pulling the strings here, but just answer the question. I do think that the Patriots will listen to offers if they do get the #1 overall pick. I don't believe that it's a slam dunk. You take Travis Hunter, as special as he is, as a dual threat talent that we haven't seen in the NFL, maybe even ever, just considering how great he was at Colorado on both sides of the ball. And the question will be, how do the Patriots and how does any team, frankly, view him at the next level? Is he a cornerback? And if so, well, then you have Christian Gonzalez as your #1 cornerback if you're the New England Patriots. And sure, you would have a package of plays for Travis Hunter on offense if that was the case, but he's not going to play both ways to the level that he did with Deion Sanders at Colorado. And if it's on the wide receiver side, then sure, the Patriots certainly could use some talent at that position. It's been something that's been lacking going back to the final years of Tom Brady. The thing is, though, this is an organization that has a ton of needs across the roster. Wide receivers, certainly one of them. Offensive line's another. If you're hoping that you secure the #1 overall pick, and you're also hoping that Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward stocks go up as high as they possibly can over the NFL Combine and all of their pro days, so that you can get a package that gives you that ability to bring in a bunch of different talented players over the course of this draft, next draft, and however long they can get assets for.
CBS Sports NFL analyst Tyler Sullivan, thanks so much for the insight. CBS has a monster slate of games on tap for Week 18, and we'll have you covered for all of them, with post-game highlights, recaps, on-field interviews, and much more right here on CBS Sports HQ. You can watch live on the CBS Sports app, or you can stream it on Paramount+.